to go over the latest bowl projections from Action Network. Brett McMurphy and Deion Sanders. He's doing it just right, in our opinion, here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar, episode 102. Please smash the like button if you like our content. Subscribe to our ever-growing channel and share the video with your family and friends. Thank you so very much. Let's go through the bowl projections. Then I want to talk about Mr. Deion Sanders. We think we know what's going on. We think he's handling the balance between Jackson State and Colorado perfectly. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below the video. But let's get to the bowl projections like we do every single week here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Brett McMurphy's Action Network. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. He's the guy to follow. Brett McMurphy. He talks about the college week 14 college football bowl projections. He talks about this situation, trying to get enough schools with a 6-6 record to be eligible to be in the bowls. It doesn't look like we're going to get there. There might be some 5-7 squads. There might be a 5-6 New Mexico State squad that might get to a bowl game. They've sent a waiver. They're trying to get a waiver, an application for a waiver to get to a bowl game with a 5-6 record because one of their games against San Jose State, an FBS program, was canceled due to a tragedy among the San Jose State football players. A young man lost his life. So New Mexico State couldn't play that game. Jerry Kill and the athletic director of New Mexico State trying to get that waiver. They're trying to get a game scheduled for this Saturday versus Valparaiso, but that's an FCS program. It would not help them get eligibility for a bowl game, but they're trying to get the waiver. I hope they do so. Friday, as Brett McMurphy says here in the article, it's unknown how many teams are eligible because Buffalo 5-6 plays Akron in a Friday game rescheduled because of weather. It's simple for Buffalo. Win and the Bulls are in as the 80th bowl eligible team. I'll have this article in the description down below the video if you want to read it. But let's get down to all the bowl projections. We have the Bahama Bowl, UAB versus Miami, Ohio. Duluth Trading Bowl, Memphis versus Western Kentucky. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Syracuse versus East Carolina. In the New Mexico Bowl, Wyoming versus Rice. In the LA Bowl, Washington State versus Boise State. In the Lending Tree Bowl, Buffalo, if they win this Friday, and they're supposed to do so, they're projected they would be bowl eligible. They play Marshall in December 17th in Mobile, Alabama in the Las Vegas Bowl. Ole Miss versus Oregon State. Ole Miss has dropped all the way down to the Vegas Bowl versus Oregon State, who just defeated the Oregon Ducks in a big victory. Oregon State in the Las Vegas Bowl, an incredible season for the Beavers. Frisco Bowl, Louisiana versus UNLV. There's questions if UNLV is even going to take this bowl game because they just lost their head coach. We shall see. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, Ohio versus South Alabama. In the Idaho Potato Bowl, Eastern Michigan versus San Jose State. And the Boca Raton Bowl, UTSA versus Troy. In the New Orleans Bowl, North Texas versus Coastal Carolina. In the Armed Forces Bowl, Air Force versus Baylor. Again, this is after week 14. Going into week 14. Bowl projections from Brett McMurphy's Action Network. In the Independence Bowl, Houston versus Southern Miss. Gasparilla Bowl, UCF versus BYU. In the Hawaii Bowl, San Diego State, Middle Tennessee. You see it's highlighted there on your screen. That means it's official. It's not just a projection from Brett McMurphy's Action Network. It's official. San Diego State, Middle Tennessee, the Hawaii Bowl. The Quick Lane Bowl, Doesn't look like a Big Ten team's going to be playing in the Quick Lane Bowl because there was not enough eligible teams out of the Big Ten. So it goes to Georgia Southern and Bowling Green, according to Action Network. First Responder Bowl, SMU versus Utah State. In the Birmingham Bowl, Florida versus Louisville. In the Camelot Bowl, Appalachian State versus UConn. That's UConn's bowl right there, December 27th. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Wisconsin versus Oklahoma, Phoenix, Arizona. And the people doing that bowl game are going to be very happy if it's those two schools at Phoenix, Arizona. They're going to get some ticket sales. Disappointing season for both of those programs. In the Military Bowl, Wake Forest versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati going with an interim head coach as they lose Luke Fickell to Wisconsin. In the Liberty Bowl, wow, this would be awesome. Missouri, Kansas, the border war coming back for this bowl game, the Liberty Bowl. I hope that it gets done. I hope this would get done. It'd be a lot of fun to see Missouri versus Lance Leipold's Kansas Jayhawks. In the Holiday Bowl, North Carolina versus the Oregon Ducks, as the Oregon Ducks have now dropped to the Holiday Bowl. Pinstripe Bowl, Pittsburgh versus Iowa. Now, there's some projections out there that Minnesota will be placed here, but for Brett McMurphy's Action Network, it's Pittsburgh versus Iowa. Those team colors, they're the same, right? Almost the same. Texas Bowl, Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. In the Cheez-It Bowl, Florida State, great season under Coach Novell, versus Texas Tech, December 29th. In the Alamo Bowl, Texas versus Utah. Utah season ain't done yet. They can win the Pac-12 championship versus USC this Friday night. We're going to be doing a watch party, live watch party here at Peek Around the Corner. I hope you join us. Texas, Utah, and the Alamo Bowl. And the Duke's Mayo Bowl, North Carolina State versus the Maryland Terrapins. In the Tiger Sun Bowl, Duke versus UCLA. In the Gator Bowl, Mississippi State versus Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman versus the Pirate Mike Leach. That'd be a good game. Mississippi State, Big Egg Bowl victory over Ole Miss. In the Arizona Bowl, December 30th, Tucson, Arizona. Toledo versus Fresno State. Music City Bowl, what do we have here? The Kentucky Wildcats versus the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I think this is probably best case scenario for the Golden Gophers. We shall see. We shall see. In the ReliaQuest Bowl, the old Outback Bowl, South Carolina. The emergence of Rattler, South Carolina, and Coach Beamer. Two huge victories that end their SEC conference play versus Bielema's Illinois. Big season for University of Illinois, South Carolina, Illinois, January 2nd. January 2nd, Citrus Bowl. LSU versus Purdue. Both those teams are in their conference championship games. LSU versus Georgia. Purdue versus the Michigan Wolverines. We'll see what Jeff Brom can do with the Boilermakers. We're going to be having a live watch party. Big Ten Championship Saturday night here at Peek Around the Corner as well. Hope you can join us. The Capital One Orange Bowl. Clemson versus Tennessee. Both sliding down a little bit here at the end of the season. Kind of disappointing for both teams. But overall, Tennessee has to be happy with this season. They were not even ranked in the top 25 before the season started. And look where they are. Projected to go to the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. Alabama Crimson Tide versus, Chris Kleiman. The job he has done at Kansas State in Manhattan. Kansas State versus Alabama. That will be a good one. That would be a good one. Cotton Bowl, Penn State versus Tulane. Tulane just has to win that ACC championship game against UCF. Tulane, all they have to do is win that game, and they're going to the Cotton Bowl at Arlington, Texas, January 2nd against the Penn State Nittany Lions. The Rose Bowl, Washington Huskies versus the Buckeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes. Buckeyes still believe they have a chance to get to the college football playoffs. If USC loses Friday night, we shall see, according to Brett McMurphy's Action Network. The playoffs projections have it. Georgia versus USC, Michigan versus TCU, and then the championship game, Brett McMurphy would have it, Georgia versus Michigan. I think all that looks good. I think all that looks great. We shall see what happens with USC versus Utah. If USC wins the Pac-12 championship game, they're in the playoffs. If they lose, I think the Buckeyes sneak in. Put down your thoughts, your comments down in the comment section below the video. I read them all. I absolutely read them all. Then I use some of them in our live shows. I use those discussion points in our live shows. Now let's get to the main story of today. Deion Sanders. We know reports Colorado Buffaloes have offered Deion Sanders to be their next head football coach. I think it would be a terrific move by Colorado just to do this, just to make this attempt, just to roll the dice. I give Colorado an A+. A+. Even if they fail in this attempt, I give them an A+. I don't think they have failed, though. I really don't. I think what's going on is just it's just our opinion on this. Put down your opinions in the comment section. But I think Deion Sanders is waiting to make this official until after Jackson State's last game against Southern Jaguars here Saturday, December 3rd. I really think, there is no rule book on this, on how these coaches can handle this. Every situation is different. I think Deion Sanders is doing a great job of threading the needle. He wants to be a Power 5 football coach. It sounds like he wants to do it this year. It sounds like Colorado has made a good offer and they're waiting. But if you notice, Colorado doesn't seem to be moving on from the Deion Jackson offer, right? I don't think they've been told no. I think they're waiting for Deion Sanders to finish that Jackson State game out against Southern. And then Deion Sanders makes it official. And then, or not, or he says no, and then Colorado moves on. But I think Deion Sanders is going to say yes. I think Deion Sanders is waiting until after that game. You saw what happened with Hugh Freeze, how that information leaked out between him and Auburn. And Liberty just didn't show up to play against New Mexico State and got crushed in that game. I'm not blaming Hugh Freeze. I'm not blaming Auburn. I'm not blaming anybody. But as a head coach, you're trying to balance your interest in your custodianship, in your leadership with the team you have now versus the opportunity in the future for the program you go into next. And I think Deion Sanders is striking the right chord. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm way off on this. Let me know what you think. But I think Deion Sanders, I think he's doing it right. Until next time, from us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.